After returning to Lawless District 7 years after the massacre of his family, Angelo, who now goes by Avelio, gets reacquainted with an old friend and they both dive into a new way of life. Angelo convinces Corteo, his childhood friend and brother figure, to sell his special booze to the mob. They try to sell their product to Gran Chio, owner of the speakeasy located in the so-called island, where they eventually meet Fango, Don Orco's new infamous enforcer, who is looking for Nero Vanetti, Don Vanetti's son, to exact the revenge of stealing the Orco family's booze. However, due to Fango's lunatic antics, they somehow manage to escape along with two unknown men, whom one of them turn out to be Nero Vanetti. The Vanetti family seeks revenge after they continued compromising on their smuggling routes leads to the death of one of their young runners. Don Vanetti's mansion hosts a wedding between the Don's daughter Fio and a man named Ronaldo, but behind the scenes of the grand party, the family feels uneasy. Vano is eager to avenge Arturo Tronco's death, so Angelo decides to help him on the condition to vet him to the clan. Together they plan to kill Fango with Chirado's help. They fail to kill Fango, but they do capture his bodyguard Serpente, which Vano realizes that his knife is the same knife that Tronco's throat was killed with. Vano takes Serpente to the cemetery that Tronco is buried in and kills him before Tronco's grave. Then Angelo appears behind him, calling his name, and shoots him in the stomach. After revealing who he is and why he did that, he kills Vano. Angelo moves one step closer to completing his revenge. When he returns to Nero and tells a fake story about Vano's death, Nero gets angry and demands to take him to see his corpse, but when they get there with Barbaro, they see that Serpente's body is not there, which brings Angelo into trouble. Nero gives Angelo a chance to find Serpente's body or he will get killed. Fango asks Don Orco to attack on the Vanetti's turfs together, but Don Orco refuses because of the order of the Chicago outfit. Fango leaves the Orco family and Don Orco plans to kill him. In Chirado's bar, Corteo makes Chirado confess to what happened to Serpente's corpse, and surprise, Angelo was there and heard what they said. Angelo threatens Chirado to tell him what he did and says that he sold his corpse to Scusa, a corrupt head of Federal Bureau of Prohibition. Then Angelo demands him to take him to his corpse. Scusa visits Don Vanetti and offers him for a bribe to hide the crime which is committed by Vanetti's, but Don Vanetti demands to see the corpse first. Chirado takes Angelo to Serpente's corpse under the surveillance of Nero, who had been spying on him, and Nero had been spied on by Fango. Tigre gets beat by Fango and Gatto, his subordinate, to make him confess. While torturing Tigre, they hear a window shatter and go inside. Seeing Nero holding a gun to Serpente, they decide to exchange them. Fango doubts the blood on Serpente's body and decides to shoot him, but he attacks Fango instead. In surprise, it was Angelo in Serpente's suit. After a shootout, Nero and the others escape. Tensions reach a boiling point when the Vanettis begin to enact their retaliation. Frate, Nero's younger brother, warns him that he has given an ultimatum after breaking Don Galassi's condition and tells him to get lost for a while. Angelo recommends to accompany him, and although Frate dislikes it, Nero does accept. Angelo and Nero adjust to life on the run while an assassin tails them. During a conversation while camping, they confess their feelings about their first respective criminal experiences. Angelo notices a discrepancy between the letter and his memory of the massacre. They then head to a town called Coda, where they meet the corrupt officer Nick. Nero then offers a bribe to tell him about a speakeasy. Barbaro informs Nero about the assassin's details as the hitman finds out where he and Angelo are. However, the assassin gets killed by a farmer after some confrontations. Barbaro informs Nero that Fango split from Orco, then claimed the island as his turf, and the Orcos call for a truce after failing to take out Fango. The conditions, however, end up being less than favorable for some parties. Nero is making a new brand of moonshine, which is given by Barbaro's idea, with Corteo's intelligence. As Nero comes back to the Vanetti mansion, Frate get his men prepared to kill him, but they fail, thanks to his subordinate's loyalty. Nevertheless, Tigre gets seriously wounded by the henchmen. Nero and his associates end up in a warehouse and they need to treat Tigre's wound before he dies, but the Vanettis put the district on lockdown. Ronaldo states that Galassi wants Frate to run the Vanettis or they will lose the alliance with him. Angelo then suggests to seek refuge in Fango, but Nero refuses. Angelo, however, managed to escape with Corteo and make a deal with Fango for a doctor in payback. As the Vanetti family's hunt after Nero continues, Nero and his associates move forward with getting rid of Don Orco as per their contract. Somehow, they capture Orco after using a bait of submitting Lawless Heaven to the Orco family. Afterwards, they take him back to Fango as promised, and he dismembers Orco and feeds him to his men. Fango takes over everything Orco had and gets acknowledged by the authorities as the new Don. Angelo talks with Corteo, realizing that it was not Orco that sent the letter. Nero wants to reunite with the Vanettis, although Fango still wants to continue his dealings with him, but Nero feels unsafe around Fango as he is suspecting a betrayal. Increasing pressure from Ronaldo and a nudge from Angelo causes a schism within the Vanetti clan by trying to assassinate Ronaldo with Volpe without Nero's knowledge. However, they fail the assassination. Angelo then kills Volpe somewhere near Vanetti's turfs. After Frate and his men find the car with only Volpe in it, Frate believes that Nero set the plan. Frate sends a message to Nero by hanging Volpe's body on Lawless Bridge. Internal war begins between Frate, supported by the Galazia family, and Nero, supported by Fango. Frate's men decide to rebel and serve under Nero instead of him, which makes it clear that Nero is the winner. Nevertheless, Fio gets pregnant. Ronaldo attempts to take out Nero, but Fio kills him to save her brother. Nero tells Frate to leave the country in order to stay safe. Frate confesses that whatever he did was to earn his father's respect. Angelo manipulates them, which leads to Frate's death by Nero's hand. Afterwards, they pretend, as Frate killed Ronaldo, that Nero killed Frate to prove his loyalty to the Glacias. Fio then leaves her mob family with her unborn child. With Frate dead, Nero remains as the only Vanetti, and he vows to do anything for the survival of his father's empire. The new head of the Bureau of Prohibition cracks down on the feuding families. Fango aims to crush the Vanettis. Angelo wants to isolate himself from Corteo, but Corteo instead decides to inform Fango about Vanetti's plans in order to get rid of Nero. After Delphi starts to investigate the Lodge, Nero's factory of Lawless Heaven brand, and is given the information by Fango, Nero warns him several times, but Delphi does not step down, so Nero orders to take out his family. Delphi's family does not die, but the assassination attempt extremely frightens Delphi, which makes him leave his duty. Fango uses Corteo's betrayal to kill Nero, but he fails multiple times. After Fango owns Lawless Heaven from the seas of Scusa, he tries to tell the Vanettis who the traitor is, but Corteo beats him to death. While Corteo tries to catch the train to escape from Lawless, some henchmen end up capturing him. The next day, they call Angelo to attend the Vanetti mansion, where they torture Corteo to confess why he sold out Nero, but he stays quiet. As Fango is no more, his executives plan to join the Vanettis. Somehow, Corteo vanishes, and the Vanettis put Lawless on lockdown to find him, but they get nothing. In the middle of the night, Corteo calls Angelo for help, who is then blackmailed by an unknown person to force Angelo to kill Nero. Vincent then gives the Don's rank to his son Nero. Nero plans to expand his booze market across Illinois by negotiating with the Glacias. Angelo deduces the identity of the man who sent the letter. Angelo and Gonzo then discuss motives, leverage, and future plans shortly before Angelo revisits his hometown en route to a business deal with the Glacias in Chicago. Barbaro finds out that Corteo was with Angelo when he left on the ship, so Gonzo calls Corteo to come back and save Angelo from death. Don Nero Vanetti calls Angelo for interrogation and even orders the guards to inspect him before entering the Vanetti mansion. In the middle of the interrogation, Corteo smashes into Nero's office and explains why he betrayed Nero. Nero then orders Angelo to kill Corteo to prove his loyalty. Then, Don Galassi and his nephew Strega arrive in Lawless for the grand opening of the Vanetti Playhouse, as final preparations are made for the big show. The plot does not go as planned because Gonzo's assassins fail to kill Del Toro. But even after Angelo kills Del Toro, Barbaro and Tigre spot him and take him to the basement to interrogate him, and they find out about the letter. However, Tigre tries to warn Nero and Gonzo, but Barbaro refuses and tells him to only warn Gonzo. After he comes in, however, he manages to kill Barbaro and release Angelo. He then acts like Angelo made his way out and killed Barbaro. Gonzo gives the letter to Nero to let him know who, quote-unquote, Avilio is in reality. Nero tries to stop him, but he's unable. After lots of struggle to get Vincent and Galassia, Angelo kills Galassia to prompt Strega to perish the Vanettis. The rule of the Vanetti family begins to end. Vanetti dies in Nero's arms, with his last words being, "Nero, all of this was for nothing, my boy." Strega's men then kill every Vanetti in sight, and the Vanettis are not strong enough to survive the war. Nero finds out where Angelo is and kidnaps him from Strega's bodyguards. After explaining everything to Nero, they leave Lawless with Chirado, and Nero takes the opportunity to steal his car. Angelo and Nero take a trip to see the Atlantic Ocean against a backdrop of warring families and a dying empire. Nero asks Angelo if he is satisfied with his revenge, to which Angelo replies that they did not give him the raison d'etre that he hoped for, and it was all for nothing. Nero, reminded of his father's last words, becomes enraged and beats Angelo and asks why he did not kill him, to which Angelo responds that Nero should have killed him on the night of his family's massacre. After spending a few days traveling and trying to find a reason to forgive each other, Angelo tells Nero that the only reason he is alive is because he didn't want to kill him. After hearing this, Nero shoots Angelo in the back and leaves him on the beach. While driving away, one of Strega's henchmen notices Nero in his car without Angelo, and then he finds him to take him back to Strega and treat his injury. Angelo then explains that he killed Galassia to spark a war between both sides in order to annihilate the Vanettis. Strega then gives Angelo an offer to eliminate an unmentioned person to become part of the family, which Angelo accepts.